Praise the Lord. All right. Thank you very much. I believe that tense is for God, right? We're going to do something very special now. When I say watchman youth, you reply me, we make a difference. Are we understanding? Did you get that? And you're going to do that. You hold the hands of your neighbor. Are you getting me? Hold the hands of your neighbor and lift it up. When I say watchman youth, you should reply, we make a difference. Are we good to go? Watchman youth! Watchman youth! All right. And when we talk about making a difference, remember, that's what means you are special, you are unique, you are different from the common things people do, isn't it? So believe me, after this program, there will be great difference in our lives, in our academics, in every ramifications of our life in Jesus' name. We're going to be looking at something on which everything we have studied today lies on. Our daddy has talked, the first speaker spoke, the second speaker, the third speaker. There is something, if affected, you and I will not be able to achieve our dreams. You and I will not be able to achieve our visions. And that same thing, if there is any defect in it, you will not be here, I will not be here. And what is that talking about? It's talking about your health. It's talking about your health. So we're going to be looking at physical, mental, and emotional health. Physical, mental, and emotional health. Next slide, please. Like I said, health is the basis of life's activity. Everything you do, your dreams, your thoughts, all lies on the strength of your health. If you're not healthy, you won't be here. If you try to make research, you find out that one or two persons were unable to come here because of one health issue or the other. If I happen to be sick, not physically sick, I can be emotionally sick, I can be mentally sick. Like a madman cannot sit here and listen to me, right? Right? True of us. Can a madman sit down here and listen to me? It's not possible. So it is only those who are mentally fit that can actually carry out life's activity. We said health is the physical and mental and social well-being, and not merely the absence of diseases or infirmities, according to World Health Organization in 1986. When you define health, it does not actually mean that this person is sick. Are you getting me? When we talk about health, it is beyond a physical defect. It is beyond you having fever, you cannot eat, you're in the hospital. Is beyond that. Someone can actually be fine physically, but can be sick mentally, can actually be sick emotionally. So there are various ways health can be affected. Another definition of physical health, it talks about the well-being of your body and its normal functioning of your organs. Are you getting me? Specifically on the physical health, it talks about the functioning of your body. The next slide, please. Importance of physical health. Why are we laying emphasis on this physical health? One, it improves the health of your brain. If you're not healthy, your reasoning, your thinking will be affected. Are you getting me? Because the brain is a part of the human body that carries out every other activities that take place as a human. If the brain is affected, that person is more like a dead person. Are you getting me? So for you sitting down here, your brain told you, everybody is sitting down. Let me sit down. It is the function of the brain. For you to come down here, you've seen the invite. You say, we are having youth summit at Amokoko. I need to be there. It is the brain's activity to have reason. Say, I need to be in this program to gain one or two things. And that is why you came down here. But if your brain was not functioning, or the brain is malfunctioning, the person might be on the streets messing around. Are we together? So another importance is it helps to manage your weight. Some of us we take things that are not healthy for us, and because of that, we undergo what we call obesity. And obesity is one of the leading cause of various cardiovascular diseases. Are we together? Although right now as a youth, you may not experience that. You may not understand what it actually tells. But some of these actions we do now has a way of affecting our body in the nearest future. So whatever thing you are doing, whatever things you eat, make sure you watch your weight. Are we together? Then another importance of physical health. Sorry? Another importance of physical health is that it strengthens the muscles and the brain. When we talk about physical health, it also entails your physical activity, your ability to carry out activities, your ability to work, to do work. Are you getting me? So another importance is it strengthens the muscles and the brain. It also boosts your energy level. When you undergo activities, you find out that the energy begins to develop. You have the ability to do work. That's where the energy comes in place. Another one is it improves the quality of our sleep. If you don't undergo physical quality, have you noticed, for instance, you had a very stressful day and you went to bed, as in like that day's activity was very stressful. So you went to bed, and when you wake up, you will notice slight headache. Have you ever noticed that before? Because of the effect of your activity on that day. So if you are able to carry out your physical activity adequately, you will have a quality sleep. And another, it helps to combat health issues. For instance, like I said, there are like your weight, obesity, and all that. There are some poor physical activities you can undergo. It predisposes you to some health issues like cardiovascular diseases of the heart. Are you getting me? For instance, you're the type that doesn't like exercise. You're always sleeping. It's a sedentary lifestyle. You're always sleeping. You don't do the normal things people do. You feel everything should be done for you. That's a sedentary lifestyle. Such kind of person, you're always at a spot. You don't move around. That person can be predisposed to adding weight. And from there, you're having obesity. And from that, before you know it, when there is excess fat in the body, it helps to block the blood vessels in the heart. And that's why you see some of them breathing very fast. Are you getting me? Are we together? Please, I need your response, okay? All right, the next slide, please. We have types of physical activities. Remember, I told you that our physical health also has to do with our physical activities. We have the aerobic activity, we have the flexibility, we have the muscle strengthening. When you talk of aerobic activity, it's, for example, you're walking, you're jogging, you're swimming is an activity. There are healthy activities which you and I ought to do. Are you together? Then there's another one which is flexibility. Flexibility has to do with digging, like farming activity. Then another one is muscle stretching. That's where you find our activities. Like this, there's one they call Tai Chi. You're trying to form all these Chinese activity. Are we together? You see those people, they're very healthy. Their bones are very, very strong. It doesn't mean that you should go and fight too. But I'm only giving you an instance. You start stretching your body. Some of us have never been to the gym. Some of us have never been to the gym. But this activity of going to the gym, undertaking different exercises, goes a long way to help maintain your physical health. The next slide. We're talking about characteristics and components of physical health. What are their components? One is the physical activity, which we talked about. You're jogging, you're running, you're walking, knitting. At least do something. You don't have to lie on bed, because we found out some of our youth are becoming very lazy. Regardless the economy, You can do something and actually make an in. You can actually do something and make money out of it. But because we just want, um, they call it office work. We just want to sit at the place and more money come into our accounts. It doesn't all work like that. And even if it works, it jeopardizes your health. Are you together? So another one is nutrition. Nutrition has to do with your diet. What kind of food do you eat? Some of us are used to taking junk food. Instead of us going to the kitchen to make good food, we prefer, Mommy, don't worry, just give me that money. I'll buy gala, I'll buy you, just things like that. You're feeling lazy to eat the right food. Not knowing that what you are doing today, you may not see the effect now. It will tell on you, it will tell in the future. So many of the elderly suffering so many diseases are actions they've taken while they were much younger. Like my dad will always tell you, he was actually diagnosed of diabetes. So he doesn't joke with when it comes to taking sugar. He will tell you nobody uses sugar. We don't use sugar in the house because of his condition. So he actually learned a lot when his condition at that moment taught him a big lesson that he should mind his intake of sugary substances. And so many of our food right now are highly, as in, the rate of sugar in it is really, really much. And when I talk about sugar, it doesn't only lie on taking your gum, your biscuits, your Milo. Even the food we eat, like our carbohydrates, they have sugar. Are we together? Like your carbohydrates, it contains a high sugar. That is why we always lament on taking a balanced diet. You have to balance it. If you're able to balance it, you won't have a problem. But whereby you are taking rice in the morning, gari in the afternoon, yam in the evening, your meal for that day is all carbohydrates. And you are exposing your body to high sugar intake. And when it becomes high, it accumulates in your blood. And that's where some people suffer diabetes in the future. And forget this future I'm talking about. Even at our age right now, in the hospital, we diagnosed a child of 9 years having diabetes. So it's not until you get to your 30s, your 40s. It can happen to anybody. That is why we are trying to lay more emphasis on this. You take precautions to avoid complications in the future. And may God help us in Jesus' name. Another one is our medical health care. Some of us are not concerned about our health. Maybe you just have headache. Your parents will ask you, let's go and see the doctor. Say, Mommy, don't worry, it's nothing, I'm fine. Or sometimes they will even give you money to buy drugs. But because you want to use it for your own selfish reason, you just forsake your health. The headache has subsided. I'm okay now, I'm good to go. Or you just go and get paracetamol and you take paracetamol and that's all. For you to have, for an individual to feel headache, there is something. Headache is not a sickness. It's a symptom that something is wrong in the system. And if that thing that is wrong is not tackled, it can cause more harm. Are we together? Another one is our personal hygiene. Although we're going to be elaborating on that later, some of us are ignorant of our personal hygiene. We don't pay attention to how personal hygiene has to do with your cleanliness. Remember, cleanliness is next to godliness. So you need to pay more attention to your personal hygiene. How often do you brush your teeth? How often do you wash your clothes? Take care of your hair? Take care of your body? Some of us, we don't even care how our dressing is. Some persons, before they take their baths, especially when they're at home, they're not going to school. 1 p.m., 4 p.m. And at the end of the day, some of them would not even remember taking their bath, especially, sorry to say, especially for the males. They are less concerned about their health. But it doesn't mean because some of them, this one is for females. Men doesn't have body odor. Men do. They have body odor. I used to remember then in school, there was a guy that always, whenever he comes, there's this odor that comes along with him. So whenever he's coming, especially the females, we're always looking for a separate seat just because he had that body odor. But if you're the type that pays attention to your health, you won't encounter such. And people, because if you have that body odor, indirectly, people will begin to isolate you. You yourself, you may not know. You won't know. Some of them are very, very severe that you yourself, you may not feel it like it is somebody that will come up to you and say, ah, it is somebody that will come up to you and say, it is only those who love you that will tell you about it. Believe me, you. Anyone that comes up to you and tell Sister Abeg, just clean yourself. It is someone who loves you. And don't feel that they are trying to abuse you. Take precaution and make amendments. Then another one is our lifestyle. A healthy lifestyle. It also depends on the kind of food we eat. We take junk food. We do things anyhow. Poor hand washing. Or maybe you went to the hospital to see someone and you touched the person. When you're coming out, please wash your hands. Forget the fact that COVID-19 is no longer rampant like that. There are other severe diseases that one can also get through hand touch. Are we together? Next slide, please. We're talking now about mental health. What is mental health? When I talk of mental, we are always, our mind takes us back to the brain, isn't it? The mind takes you back to the brain. Mental health is a state of well-being that enables people to cope with stressors of life, realize their abilities, learn well, work well, and contribute to their community. Another definition says it also refers to a cognitive, behavioral, and emotional well-being. It's about how people think, how they feel, and they behave. When we talk about mental health, it has to do with your reasoning ability, the way you reason, the way you see things, your perception, the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you behave. Some of us react to things in a negative way, and which is not healthy for the body. And some of these, and when anyone encounters a mental defect, it disrupts the person's daily activities. What are the risk factors to mental health? Why I'm emphasizing on this mental health is because we notice when it comes to mental disorder, it is always common within the age of 16 to 30 years. Mental health does not only happen to the elderly, it can happen to even a child of 16 years. Having a mental disorder, that's what we call psychiatric disorder. Are we together? A child of, let's say, 7 to 9 years, having what they call a temper tantrum. Temper tantrum has to do with the behavioral pattern of children. When you take off their sweet from them, you see them throwing themselves on the floor, just doing harsh, violent actions. Are we together? For instance, if you have a younger one at home, you just beat the child. You find that the child will start rolling himself on the floor. That's a temper tantrum activity. It is common in children and it is normal in children. But when it exceeds childhood, it becomes a mental disorder. Some of us, when we are angry, we take actions that people begin to like, what really happened? If some of us are very angry right now, you see them throwing chairs, carrying knife. That is what we see in the street. You see all this alage, when they are angry or they are upset or something, you see them carrying dagger, cutlass, they want to harm someone. It is not a normal activity. Are you getting me? It can happen to anybody. Anybody can. Anyone that risks of developing this mental disorder. But your ability to control, your ability to have these coping skills makes the difference. With the risk factors to mental health, we have the modifiable factors and the non-modifiable. When I say modifiable, there are factors that we can actually work on and prevent it. And when I say non-modifiable, you cannot change it. Are you getting me? For the modifiable factor, we have social and economic factors such as unemployment, poverty. Looking at the state of our economy, a lot of youths have lost their hope in Nigeria. True or false? True or false? That's certainly true. A colleague of mine said, once I'm done with this program, I japa, like he's leaving the country, like he's leaving Nigeria. So because of the states of the country, it makes people, their reasoning, their thoughts becomes negative. A man who is married with 2 kids, no work, no money, such man, he's always feeling depressed. When I mean dep- when I mean depressed, he's always calm. He's losing interest because he has thoughts left and right. He doesn't know how to take care of his family because of the economic state of the country. When there is no employment, when you don't, even as a youth, when you don't have money, you feel unhappy, isn't it? You feel unhappy. And some of us are here today because we want to make a better tomorrow, isn't it? Another one is occupation. Sometimes the occupation an individual undergoes can brings him into a mental disorder. For instance, your work is very stressful. It's a time that doesn't allow you to rest. You leave the house 4 a.m. in the morning, coming back by 10 p.m. in the night. At the end of the day, you get little or nothing out of the salary. Such kind of occupation can predispose an individual to having a mental disorder because the individual begins to think up and on. He's worried. He said, how am I going to cope? How am I going to meet the demands of life? Another one is housing quality, more like an environment. The environment in which one resides can actually affect their mental stability. For instance, around Orile, Amokoko, Jebule, and all of it, there are areas whereby violence is highly practiced. When I mean violence is highly practiced, you see someone very early in the morning, they started fighting for no good cause. In the evening, the street is on. There was one that happened in my street recently. Everywhere was locked. The area boys was just making that noise. So in such area, it affects the mental health of an individual. For instance, that individual that went to work 4 a.m., coming back by 10, he or she wants to rest. And then the the community is not is not in peace, or maybe they are fighting, making noise, or even your neighbor, like all these DJ, living close to you, always playing loud music, and those things are not healthy for the brain. Are we together? Another is genetic factor. It can be transferred from genes. Remember, for fertilization to take place, some of us that have done biology, for fertilization to take place, what the male chromosomes and the female chromosomes will come together to make a an embryo. So what sometimes in those genes, it can be from the male, it can be from the female. So those genes can be transferred. Are you getting me? It can be transferred. That is why sometimes when you see someone get mad, they want to trace the family history. Because if anyone in the family has an history of that ailment, it's possible that individual inherited it genetically. Are you together? Another one is chronic stress. No time to rest. No time to have a quality sleep. You're always working. Workaholic. No time to rest. When you finish this job, you're going to the next one. You don't know episode of resting. Like that individual I told you leaves the house 4 a.m., comes back at night, and at that same night p.m., he or she will take the bath, go to the kitchen to make food. Before you know it, you're sleeping 12, 1 o'clock. And for you to have a healthy quality sleep, minimum as an adult, you should sleep about 7 hours per day. When I mean minimum 7 hours. So an individual who is not able to sleep for about 7 hours is predisposing himself to a mental disorder. Lack of sleep can actually cause a mental disorder. Lack of a quality sleep. You don't sleep. And it can also elevate the blood pressure. Before you know it, the individual is being diagnosed of high blood pressure. When I talk about this ailment, don't think it's just for the 30s, the 40s. Our youths these days are having severe hypertension. When I mean severe hypertension, I was shocked when I saw an individual, not somebody told me. A boy of 20 years having high blood pressure. What is he thinking? No, sometimes I ask myself, why are youths exposed to such kind of health problems? So anybody can fall into it. And as you're getting these informations, you take precautions to prevent it. All right? Next slide, please. Okay, we have types of mental disorder. We have the anxiety, we have the mood, we have the schizophrenia. We also have mental disorder like eating disorder. The way you eat can actually be a disorder. What is anxiety? Anxiety involves excessive worry or fear. Some of us are, you easily get scared of things, especially for the females now. If a rat, a big rat, should jump inside you now, you see, some people will jump out of the chair. That is anxiety. An excessive fear, an excessive worry, or fear about an object, about the situation. What are the signs of anxiety? We have restlessness. You see the person. Some of us might be sitting down here and he or she will stand up. We'll go to the back. We'll come back. We'll sit down. Go to the restroom. There is no atom of calmness. You are restless. It's a sign of anxiety. You are feeling weak. Even if you've eaten, you are still feeling weak, like you don't have the energy to do things. Another one is poor concentration. When an individual is diagnosed of anxiety, there is poor concentration, especially in the academic area. The teacher will be teaching. Their mind is not in that class. Their mind is far from that class. It will not help. When there is poor concentration, you won't be able to carry out your activities normally. And also, it interrupts with our sleep. We sleep by 10, you wake up by 12. You go back to bed by 2, you wake up by 3. Just like that. It interrupts sleep. Another one is also intense muscles. It makes your muscles. There is increased pulse rate. When the pulse rate is being checked, you find out that there is increase in pulse rate. Anxiety is common in the adolescents because they want to achieve something and failure to achieve that, or even without having a failure in it, before the thing comes, they are so anxious. And anxiety is not healthy for the heart because when you have anxiety, the heart beats faster than normal. The heart beats faster than normal, and when it does, it can affect its functioning. Another one is mood disorder. It's a popular word. Some will tell you, I'm not in the mood. Amaka, come, let's go. Let's go and study this course. I'm not in the mood of reading. The mood has to do with either the mania or the depression. Mood has to do with your state of being, your mindset, if you are happy, if you are not happy. Are we together? It involves what we call mania or depression. Mania is an act of laughing excessively. We always see that's common in match people, isn't it? You see them laughing, even when nothing is funny. And someone just say, yeah, that's start laughing without anything, any exciting thing. Such kind of person will start thinking, is this person actually okay? Are we getting me? And when we talk about depression has to do with you sitting down calmly, you don't talk to anybody, you are always moody, you are not happy. That is what we call depression. And so many youths are exposed to depression. You see, the issue of suicidal attempts, homicidal attempts, it is caused by either a manic action or a depressive action. Suicidal attempt does not come one day. Some of us, who are reading our news constantly, you hear stories of how a child of 16 years killed himself, or killed his mother, or killed this, and then. Suicidal attempts, killing themselves. Why homicidal? You're killing somebody. Are you getting me? So, either of these, it can be a manic state, it can be in a depressive state. So that's why we are trying to make you understand what a mental health is all about, and emotional health. You have to be healthy emotionally in order not to take irrational action. We have examples of mood disorder, which are the major depression, the bipolar disorder, and the seasonal disorder. This seasonal disorder is always found in countries that are found far away from the equator, like the England. This seasonal disorder is always common there. It's a disorder whereby people begin to act unusual. They take actions that are not healthy for their body. Signs of mental disorder. We have, I will try and be a bit fast because of our time. Signs of mental disorder. We have restlessness, as I talked, weakness, poor concentration, interrupted sleep, intense muscle, loss of appetite. When an individual is depressive, there's no interest of food. You are becoming aggressive. Any little thing pisses you off. You don't have interest for those things you used to. There are some persons that like, okay, for instance, an individual who loves music, like our choristers now, they love singing music, isn't it? That's why they want to be a chorister, isn't it? But an individual who loves music and experiences any of this disorder, before you know it, once you play music, that individual becomes aggressive. Like, I don't want this music. You know, those things you love to do, you can no longer do them. Next slide. Then what are the complications of mental health? Stigmatization. Can you sit with a madman here? If you know you can sit with a madman, please raise up your hand. None of us would love to do that. That is stigmatization. Everybody wants to isolate you. Are you getting me? Then, another complication is loss of job. You're unable to carry out your daily activities. There's also a financial burden from your family because they will have to start providing you food because you can't work to make ends for yourself. Are we together? Then another one is, what are the prevention of mental disorder? Those modifying risk factor I talked about. If you can work on those risk factors, you'll be able to prevent a mental disorder. And when we talk about this mental disorder, your state of mind affects it. Some of us, we are always moody. You don't smile. Do you know that smiling helps to keep you healthy? Are you aware? When you smile, the facial muscles are stretched, and it gives the brain a feedback to stimulate what we call endorphins. And these endorphins, they are called happy hormones. When they are being released in the brain, it helps the brain to be healthy. And once your brain is healthy, you're automatically healthy. Because anything that affects your brain will bring you down. Are we together? Because if there's any defect in your mental state, it can affect your physical state. It can also affect your emotions. What is emotional health? He said emotional health is an aspect of mental health. It's the ability to cope with both positive and negative situations. The ability for you to cope with problems is known as an emotional health. Listen, things may not always go right, but your ability to come out of them, the ability to pass that difficult state, it's not always positive every time. But when you notice a negative situation and you are able to cope with that problem, find a way through it, that is emotional health. You are emotionally healthy. But whereby you are able to cope, to conquer it, it leads to what we call emotional disorder. What are the signs of emotional disorder? Isolation. You don't want to be with people. You just want to be on your own. Another one is lower energy. Your energy becomes very low. You're unable to carry out your daily activities. You can't even go to work. You sleep too much or too little. It's also a sign of emotional disorder. There's increased use of substance. And one of the causes of either of this mental disorder, emotional disorder, or physical disorder can be as a result of high intake of substance. Some of us are used to taking cigarettes, cannabis, marijuana. All of these are harmful substances that when taken, it causes harm to the brain. And if prolonged, in a prolonged, um, when someone takes these substances for long, it affects the mental state of the individual. Before you know it, they say they've carried that person to a psychiatric hospital because your brain begins to malfunction. What are the ways to improve emotional health? You watch how you talk about yourself. Be positive about yourself. Whenever you are thinking, think of positive issues. Don't always bring yourself down. Always make yourself esteem high. Grade yourself very well. Tell yourself, I can do this. I am doing well. Whereby you begin to talk negative of that exam, you cannot even pass it. Chika, you cannot even write this exam and pursue your mates. You start criticizing yourself. It's not going to promote your emotional health. But when you start praising yourself, you tell yourself you can do it. It's, it's a way to improve your emotional health. You set goals and celebrate your achievements. Just like we're talking today of setting our goals, our plans. If you outline your goals, and you find out one of the goals has been actualized, appreciate yourself. Even if others don't appreciate you, appreciate yourself. Then use substance in moderation. Avoid the use of alcohol, smoking, and all of it. These are sedentary lifestyles, they affect the body. Then take time to meditate. Have a quiet time. Aside from praying, have a quiet time. Think about what you've achieved so far and think about what you wish to achieve in the nearest future. And think about the present situation you are. Try to meditate things. This makes the brain healthy. I will give you a story before I round up. When we talk about this emotional disorder, mental disorder, it's because of our time I couldn't go into it very well. But it has to do with our mindset, the way we reason, our thoughts. I had a project I've been working for about 6 years. And I spent my time, my energy, and my money in this project with the mindset that very soon I will get the best of it. I can't forget that date. This year, April 17th, I had a very big shock. I lost that project. I was like, all the years I've spent on this, all my money, all my time. So I can't retrieve anything from it. And I was thinking it was a delirium, like I was dreaming. But I woke up several times and I found out that yes, I wasn't dreaming, that it was real. At the time I was losing interest. I couldn't do the things I used to do. If I go to work, like I feel so weak. I can't even attend to my patients. I skip their drugs. I just I don't find myself participating in things I normally do. I don't have appetite. For me to know that, knowing the fact that depression can come in anytime, I knew that these were signs of depression. I had to run to my pastor. I said, Daddy, look at what I'm passing through. He said, he called me and said, really? I said, yes. Actually, I went to him. He prayed for me and I came back and I was still feeling that same way. At the time, I had to talk to myself. I said, what is going on? If I'm unable to control this now, I will be forced to fall into a depressive state. And once you fall into it, it is difficult to come out. You see someone well dressed. Some of them have some mental issues. They go to hospitals to collect drugs and they live on drugs for many years just to see that the brain is stabilized. If there's any way they skip their drugs, you see them reacting. You begin to wonder, is this person actually okay? There are so many mad people on the road, but some of them are wearing suits. You will not know. Believe me, you would not know. It is we that is in the hospital would know what is going on. We see them on a daily basis. They come to collect their drugs. So I had to, after some weeks, it was still recurring. I went back to Daddy. No, I called him. One of the charismatic hour. I called him. I said, Daddy, I called him at around 11:30 p.m. Knowing that he's a family man, but at that state, I could not help it. Nothing was, I don't find anything interesting. I just felt like I should just leave this world. Because that thing I lost was a big thing to me. Like, I wasn't happy about it. So I had to call him. I said, Daddy, see, I don't think I can continue. I am weak. I am this. I started laying my complaints. Daddy felt for me, and we had to sing songs. He had to pray for me, and he called me again that same night. He said, "My daughter, how you doing?" I said, "Daddy, I am fine." So after some time, I read some books, and I was able to conquer that. So some of us might be into one of these, might be feeling depressed in one thing or the other, but your ability to talk to somebody about it, when you notice any of those signs, don't assume you can handle it. Even I, as a practitioner, I couldn't handle it at that state. I couldn't. So learn to talk to people who will help you. Because when it comes to depressive states, it is difficult to handle. No practitioner will tell you, if I give you a drug right now, it will calm everything, and that is the end. You will have to continue these drugs for a very long time before you finally get yourself back. So it is better to prevent it than to go into it and start looking for solutions. So I urge every one of us, learn to control your emotions, learn to take the right decisions at the right time. Because what you're thinking right now, some of us are, our minds, we are thinking a lot of things. So whatever your thought is can affect your tomorrow. So have a positive thinking so that your future will be full of positivities. And I thank God we are in the church and we have a loving father. He said, a songwriter said, according to Theophilus Sunday, he said, "Lord, I cannot do this on my own. Lord, take over. In all circumstances of life, whenever you feel depressed, whenever you feel lonely, whenever you feel that things are not working your way, call unto God." He said, "Cast your burden unto me, for I care it for you." He said, "Let this peace be in you." He gave us his peace. So try to come closer to your God, and he will have it all. Because I knew at that moment I could not help myself, and it was God who did it for me. And I pray God will help every one of us in Jesus' name.
Nice.